name is Joe, and I'm the MD at No Average Joe. We are essentially a content agency, but in traditional terms, we're a production house. We call ourselves No Average Joe, and people tend to go, oh, so is that film? Is it No Average Joe Films, or is that No Average Joe Studio or Productions? And we're like, no, just No Average Joe, because we tend to dabble in a lot of other pursuits. We run events, we make games and that sort of thing. Yeah. Video production, that's ultimately our primary offering, typically in short form factual entertainment, infotainment, commercials, corporates. But from time to time, we also produce long form documentaries or features when time permits for what is essentially a very small team. There are also other pursuits where we look into our interests, our passion. A lot of our content tends to be skewed towards games and esports of late. And when I say of late, I mean in the last 6 or 7, maybe even 8 years. I've been sitting on an idea to celebrate our greatest athletes. They don't necessarily have to be gold medalists at big events. They could be trailblazers that pave the way for future generations to succeed. I felt perhaps that not much light had been shed on them, but we don't have good archives to pull from. So because we've been doing quite a fair bit of 2D animation, I thought it'd be good to piece together an anthology, inspired a little by what we were watching at the time. This was about 3 years ago. Problem was, it required a fair bit of budget to produce, so put it on the back burner. And then Sports Singapore put out a call for entry of ideas, and we pitched it, and it didn't take long for them to pick it up. Typically, you'd be profiling new athletes or telling stories about heroes like Joseph Schooling and whoever's actually won stuff for us. But to talk about Tan Hao Liang or people who weren't number one in their division, but still were the first people at an Olympics for us, and even to break records locally or regionally. A lot of kids today, and even people of my age, tend not to remember them. We produced an anthology series, 18 one-minute clips. We illustrated the scenes and characters, and then we fleshed it out. And we had to condense these heroes' stories into 1-minute pieces. Officially, it aired Q3 last year for limited time on Sports Singapore's platform online, and now we're reversioning it for other platforms. It's going to have a broader audience this year. Well, technically it's government. It's Sports Singapore's statutory board. So this was born out of the pandemic, actually. We're co-producers, and I'm an EP on it. It's a feature film that looks back at the early 90s, perhaps even the tail end of the 80s in Singapore, specifically focused on our creative scene and how certain individuals inspired a lot of us, a new generation of artists, musicians, to do what we're doing today. The two filmmakers that pitched it to me, they're friends from before. Round about lockdown in 2020, thereabouts, I got a text saying, hey, it's been a while, I want to run this idea by you. And I thought it was really just a call to get a second opinion about a concept that my friend Dion had. Dion is one of the filmmakers. So I took the call, we had a chat, and then it turned out that they wanted us to get on board because of our experience in historical, factual stories. We've done things for international networks. You're familiar with Street Fighter, the game. We did a feature film for Capcom, the publisher and developer of the game. When he pitched it, it was really a case of, hey, you grew up in the 80s and 90s, and we didn't, but we're enchanted by the creative scene and what people did to make things a reality for us today. and we want to explore it, do a deep dive, and document it to share with our peers and the younger generation today. So I thought, okay, no one's ever really done that. Our creative scene is talked about in bits and bobs, but never really been pulled together into a film. The film got its release earlier this year in conjunction with Design Week Singapore. Thereafter, it got picked up at Projector as well. We told stories about the difficulty of trying to get things off the ground but still doing it anyway and realizing your dream and your potential, whether it was as a graffiti artist or a musician or someone who produced journals, that sort of thing. So we talked to the godfathers of the creative scene. I think everyone walked away from it quite inspired, which was great. Maybe I'll give you two answers, because I have an aspirational answer. It'd be great if we could ever do true crime docos without any reconstructions. But to answer your question regularly, normally, we would probably love it if all we could do were historical documentaries about pop culture. I'm actually excited about our growth as individuals and together as a company, thinking about what we're doing, whether it's paid client projects or stuff that we're doing on our own. Honestly, it could be a barren year and nothing happens, but that means there's time to do the stuff we want to do. We also run a small retro gaming experience here in Singapore, so anybody who misses their childhood can pop over. It's basically our old office and everyone's working from home now, so I was thinking, what do we do with the office now that no one's in? I'm most excited about the fact that we've always got stuff on, whether it's coming to us or whether we're churning it out ourselves.